Hey, can I ask you a quick question when you have a chance?
Say it again, Gary.
I've got a quick question, a clarification, if I can.
Yeah,
And just tell me who, the best place to ask. I was looking at the secure scores. What's the shaded area above the score in the fortified reporting versus the yellow, which is, the actual
Available.
score?
It's what you can change, what's available with the current licensing.
Yep, it's your potential.
So if I checked everything off, that's where we would be?
Yes,
Okay.
if you took all the recommended actions, Gary,
Yeah,
provided, that's what your score would be on that specific tab.
got it. Thank you.
But the funny thing is that I learned too is a lot of the tenants that you may be managing may not have the license for like this control or that control, but you may be doing it through a different, like a third party, and you can still alternative mitigate those, and you can actually get it higher, which is really cool too. So you get these free points.
Good question, Gary. All right, Jim, the ball's yours. How about some wins?
I've been unfortunately, very focused on internal stuff this week, and I haven't been out talking to a bunch of customers like I usually do.
Okay.
So it's some of the stuff I'm working on, Andrew. So I haven't been able to solicit any specific wins. So I'll open the floor up. Anyone might want to share what they've got.
Anybody there?
I just got off a call with an MME, and they had no idea that they had one of their guys was logging in from Nigeria, and they have no idea how long, but they spotted it in the first hour of having them on the platform. So small wins, but we'll take them.
Nice. Was it an actual employee? Did they find it's a compromise, or someone moved to Nigeria when they're not supposed to?
Yeah, no, he was actually a fireman, so he bloody well better not be phoning it in from Nigeria. Yeah, no, it was
Wow.
their credentials were being used from Nigeria on a regular basis. I don't know why the credential broker hadn't sold them someplace, but they have no idea how long this guy's been camping in there.
Did anybody before getting rid of him, Anthony, ask for the Nigerian prince email, or did you guys just get rid of him right away? Because
yeah, they loaded him up and realized what was going on and lost their furry little minds and panicked and did a token flush and everything else. So they didn't have a chance to really engage with our friends in Nigeria.
Jim, do you remember or Chip, do you remember the Nigerian prince email way back?
Of course. Yes, definitely.
It was one of the first.
Yeah, I know.
It was one of the first. A lot of people fell for it.
Well, you know what I want to highlight, Andrew, now I'm thinking about it. I want to highlight our controller at Sasslers, Tracy Brame. She spotted a very well done. We were talking about this last week in terms of people with a string. And I think you're going to put this up now. But
let's just go to it, Jim. Let's just mess up my order, but sure, go ahead. Go ahead. No, it's a great one.
Trace. So apparently, I was communicating with somebody on a license renewal in order to procure a 10% discount, and it going back and forth with people internally, right, about it. She spotted it right away, but I guarantee most people wouldn't.
Can I show the whole email, Jim, to show how well crafted it is?
Yeah.
Hold on. It's really well done. How spoofed you are.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to show this all the way from the beginning. Yeah, this is really well done.
Are we welcome to put some money in to the gig?
I sent that to Jim and Andrew because this guy, we talked about another one like this last week, but this guy did such a good job crafting this whole scenario that I'm like, my God, there are definitely people going to fall for this. Like if we were the kind of a tech company that was buying infrastructure and servers and stuff, you could completely see an internal controller or bookkeeper or whatever falling for this. It was really well done. And I even went in and traced the routing numbers and the account numbers that are in the PDFs. They're real. They go back to a bank. I haven't taken the step yet to alert the bank that their name and legitimate routing numbers are being used in a scam. And I think the money must actually be going there. So I'm gonna reach out to them, and I'll update everybody on that next week. But go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, no, it's just so well crafted. Obviously, it's a plausible email for Jim,
Yep.
right? And although it's not his, and then you look at this just this is coming back and forth, and then it eventually makes it to the controller. Obviously, whoever it was did a decent job mapping it too, right?
The thing that would alert me more, the high Jim Lippy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. However, again, thank goodness, you're on top of this kind of stuff, Gary, but not, you take a typical.
I agree. We got one sort of similar a few, weeks ago, looking for payment for something that, we caught, which is good.
Yeah.
I think attaching the W-9
Yes.
to an invoice is definitely a red flag.
So can I share a similar story?
Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course.
please.
Bob Andrini, relatively new to the whole SaaS Alerts product. So
Hold on, Bob. We have Tina. Can you welcome Mr. Andrini?
You try something? It's not a SaaS Alert shirt though. It is Hot Rod Reunion. Or
all right.
This is a joke that goes back a few weeks, Bob, that one of the brand new people to the SaaS Alerts called. Tina's like, hey, and she's got her SaaS Alerts shirt on, and this guy, if he's here, he's like, I'm coming back to this call.
Next time I'll wear my Cover Your SaaS shirt that I got at DattoCon. And
There you go. That'd be awesome, Bob.
I'll do that. So back in December of 21, so our company is DataMaas, and the domain is DATAMAAS.com. Our customers started getting emails from myself and my main finance person from a domain which they didn't know, but was DataMaas with 3 A's. And they had gotten into our Microsoft 365 tenant, and they had figured out when we sent invoices to some of our larger clients, and they were writing them saying, if it's coming up on year end, if you would pay it early, we'll give you a 7% discount. And by the way, we've changed our banking information, so please send it here. And a couple of them did it. And we didn't even know this was going on until one of our Dutch customers, who, Maas is a standard Dutch thing, recognized the 3 A's. And he called me up and he says, hey, I think you guys are being spoofed. We just got an invoice from DataMaas and they want us to do the same. And by the way, his accountant had just processed the international wire transfer to the new bank account information. However, we were super lucky that the scammer was also using Fifth Third Bank. So I called our bank rep and they opened up an investigation. And because of the 24 to 48 hour delay, they were able to get basically all the right people in place to intercept this wire transfer coming in. And then they let it sit in the account, and then they figured out where the money was getting dispersed to. And they actually were able to nail these guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's only because of the international delay. Yeah, that's a big win, I think. And then it took us about 4 months to get our money back from the bank. But it was difficult. And I'll be honest, so that was back in December of 21. And we had 2 accounts that weren't set up for MFA. And that's how they got in, and we didn't have anything like SaaS Alerts or anything like that going on. But that's basically how they did it. They got in, they elevated some privileges, and then they played the long game. They registered domains, they read our emails, they spoofed our signatures, they were even carrying on dialogues with our customers like it was me and Linda. We had no idea this was going on. It was
Bob, question.
Yeah.
Which 2 accounts didn't have MFA?
So I had a secondary account, a personal account of mine that for whatever reason didn't have MFA on it, and it also had admin rights. It was incredibly stupid. That was one. And then there was another, I forget what it was. It was one of my tech's accounts. If for whatever reason they had bumped it up and they were using both of those.
Got it.
Jim, Fortify would have showed that, wouldn't it have?
Well, yes, definitely on the MFA reporting for sure.
What's interesting, Bob, is SonicWall's out. Zach's here, but SonicWall's out with their annual threat report, and we're going to show this thing. We have to have a new acronym. We've had BEC. Now there's V with a Victor. VEC. This is vendor email compromises.
Okay.
That is out, but it's literally I have it in the slide deck, so we'll go to that. But I have to tell you, in 2021, Jim, only did all your customers, out of curiosity, Bob, in 2021 have MFA?
So no, not
They
all.
did. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Jim and I have been on this kind of data crusade of looking at all the MFA, how it's proliferated over the years between the SMB world, that the SAS alerts reporting, I'm sorry, the SASE report, and then what the big enterprise CISA data gathering on Microsoft apps. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out this year, Jim. Unfortunately, MFA, so let me be very careful here. Keep doing MFA, but it's amazing how it's becoming less and less resilient with the new tactics of threat actors.
Yeah, people are finding ways around it now.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that this year for sure.
Okay.
Okay, what else do we got on the win deck? Anybody else?
I'll hopefully have a win, but not directly related. So Microsoft started their whole journey of auditing for P1, P2 licenses, making sure they matched. And we have quite a bit of customers when we adopted them, when we started 2 years ago. They were set up that way. So we reached out to them, and there's a promotion, 15% discount on business premium before the end of the year. So we're trying to get to 100% compliance as far as having everyone on Microsoft 365 business premium by the end of the month.
Did they tell you there's a new account number to send your money
Ooh.
for the 15% discount?
Oh, no, that's actually, that comes direct to us with the business premium
You
promotion.
sure this is real, Enrique?
No, yes, new customers. And then they also came out with an E5 bundle add-on for business premium called E5 Mini Security or something like that you can add on top of it. But hopefully we'll be 100% business premium by the end of the month. Nice.
I'm not sure how mini security E5 is for those that are implementing it, but we can play along with that acronym by members.
Expensive, $12
Per year or per month?
per month per user
Yeah.
for the E5
Yeah.
security bundle.
The E5 is
Mini security.
expensive.
Is Andy Rowe on the call? I'll take his place then. Well, that means that Sazler should be raising its prices.
But
For every new customer. For every new customer.
All right. Going once, any others? Bunch of chat going on. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Ben, we'll go with you first, and then we will go to, I'm sorry, Adam. My apologies. We'll go to Adam first.
But I was getting second fiddle to Ben. That would have been disappointing.
No.
That would have been
Look
very
at that.
disappointing.
It's right there, Adam, right in front of you.
That would have been so disappointing. All right. So today I am soliciting information from you all on advanced event suppression. So this is a wireframe mock-up that Liron started and I kind of finished. And as always, we love to get this stuff in front of y'all first so that we can make sure that we're building what it is that you're wanting. So today I'll show you kind of what we're doing, and then I'll show you where we're departing and implementing some new features. So Today, when you are looking at the analysis screen or any other place where there are alerts, or events, you have the ability to click this little bell, and then you're presented with this temporarily suppress the event screen. And effectively, you have the ability to choose which accounts it impacts, but no additional options other than just the event and the account really that triggered it. So the direction we're headed is, instead of the window that you see on the left, we are going to provide you this new flyout. And it'll be structured much like our existing event details flyout screen. And you will be able to pick which items in here you are most interested in adding to the suppression. So these are ands. So you might be able to say, like, Amazon in China from this IP. And that might be a little risky, but you get the point. You select the items. You also select the context. So is this going to apply to just this account? Is it going to be multiple accounts within an organization? Is it the full organization? Or is it the global partner level? And if you were to select multiple accounts in an organization, you get the ability to add all the accounts that you want. And then once you've selected the applies to and the items that you specifically are choosing for the suppression, the next tab here on the details section, it will give you a quick presentation of what you've selected, the context, and then allow you to choose whether it's a date-based rule or not, and then also what areas of our product you want to skip processing in. And so do you want to skip it only in the outside proved location area? Do you want to skip ticketing and email? Do you want to not even have respond trigger on it? And then also, as part of our future IOC feature that we'll be releasing, whether you want to skip there as well. And then you provide a name for this particular suppression or a reason. In this instance here, we have the ability to set a default date with no end date, or sorry, a start date with no end date. We have the ability to say a start date and end date, and it tells you how many days here. Or we can say that it's not date-based at all, and there's no date restriction, and it effectively will be forever. One of the things that I am soliciting information on is this name reason field. I was planning on making it a required field. Liron was pushing back on me and saying that y'all don't want to have to put any more data in than you need. So in a moment, I'll show you where I'm using that, and you can tell me whether I'm being silly or not. So once you've created these rules, this is the table where we're going, and it doesn't have much color here for context or for contrast, but I'll get there. This is the different rules that we've created in the different ways. So in this particular one, this is a single account. This is multiple accounts in an organization. This is an organization level suppression. And then this is a global suppression for your MSP. We have the idea of statuses of being expired, active, or future. And then we will present the conditions here. We'll show you what dates they are applying to, which particular areas we're skipping, and then the reason for the rule here, the suppression, which is what I thought was important. You know, I was thinking, if I'm an MSP admin and I come to this table and I'm like, why the heck is that there? I'd like to know. And then who edited it last, and then the ability to check out which events in our analysis tab that this particular rule has suppressed, edit or delete. And then in our analysis screen, the top one here is a event that has not been suppressed. So we see that little bell icon here still. And then here is one that is suppressed. The bell icon will disappear, you'll get this new suppressed item that when you hover over it, it gives you a quick glance, or if you click the button, you get that fly out again. So that's the quick kind of overview of what we're doing. I'm up for comments, questions, concerns. I see lots of chat. Where do we go?
Yeah. Let's start with Ron and then go to Zach. So Ron, you like it?
Yes, I like it.
You love it or you like it? Because I'm going for love. If it's just like, I might
Well,
toss anything to work on.
sorry, the logical part of me doesn't really do better than like. So,
Oh.
I think it's a really good feature. I think that because there's so much information in it, or potentially I could envision the fields growing. I think it would be better to have a form type page. Maybe you want a list initially, and then maybe when you click on the item in the list, it opens up into a page form for each suppression role.
So which screen are you talking about?
I'm talking about the
So,
one that was row by row, and maybe this is that.
Oh, are you talking about this screen here?
Yes, that screen right there.
So it doesn't have any contrast, which makes it a little hard to read right now. But
Right.
So you're saying rather than showing all of the different suppressions that you have at your organization, what would you change?
Just give me a list of the suppressions, and then let me click on the suppression and have it open up into a larger form page. Because
Okay.
I think that eventually you're going to put more stuff on here.
It's possible. Okay. There's also talk, and I've been kind of beating around with Liron on this, is that this suppressed section is starting to look an awful lot like our future power filters. And I'm thinking that it may end up merging into the same feature here very soon. And there's a different UI for that even, which I won't show right now, but that's kind of more in line with what you're talking about.
Cool.
Good. Zach, you're liking it?
Yeah, that'll be a nice feature. We have a lot of partners where they have like individual apps that will just ping out of somewhere outside the US. Like Ireland is a big one for some reason. We have apps that ping out of there, but generally we don't want to just whitelist Ireland for even the individual user or the whole organization. So that'll be nice to be able to just whitelist based on that event description, because that's usually where the app will populate, is in that event description, and be able to just whitelist that specific app as a result. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Nice. Tina, good for you. And Tina, you never told us, did you win that customer, that big one? Did they finally come around?
Well, it wasn't that we were winning or losing them. They were acquired.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And yeah, it wasn't even a discussion. Their internal IT is taking over. So we didn't get to talk about SaaS alerts. Or maybe we will still in the future, but we're still in the process of it. It's just gone ahead. And we didn't have a call to talk about what we had in place. We're only talking about the transition right now, but that's okay because we are looking to offboard some clients. I know we're weird that way, but I'm happy about it. But sorry, SaaS alerts.
So you're liking what you're seeing here though from Adam?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, especially being able to do the date range.
Yeah, one of the other requirements I put into this specific feature is that our API is enhanced to be able to modify, add, or delete any of the features or options within this particular feature, so that if you do have automation, for instance, somebody's going on vacation and you've got some sort of robotic process automation that you want to latch into here to create the hey, they're going to be outside the country for this particular date range, you can do that.
Very cool. Is that the kind of feedback you were looking for, Adam, or any other area?
I think the only thing that I'm unfortunately Liron's not here, so if I'm right, I'll tell him. If I'm not right, I won't mention it. But
yeah, don't say a word.
The name reason field being required. Am I crazy here for doing that? Or do you feel that it provides value for the next admin that comes in behind you to figure out why you did that thing?
You know,
Definitely.
So I'm good. That's all I needed. All right, features in.
It needs a name, Adam. There's
Yeah.
there's no question it needs a name. You could get a
Agreed.
lot of them in here, and that will help the MSP community keep it organized. And there is turnover among techs, and you need to make it as easy as falling off a log wherever possible for people to understand what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Answering Tobin's question, appreciate you staying on me with that. Short answer is it got kind of pushed a little bit down my list so that we could release a forthcoming, super exciting announcement that will be coming at Connect. Once we get past that, I will be back on the hunt, or we will be back on the hunt for ConnectWise RMM.
All right. Great job, Adam.
Thank you.
Now over to Mr. Ben. And Ben, I will throw the URL in chat.
Okay.
Do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to kind of give a overview of what we're going to be talking about?
Let's see. If you got the URL, I can share my screen. Not a problem. So I did want to cover
coming right now.
Something else too.
Here's what Ben is about to share.
Sweet. Thank you. Let me see if I can figure out how to share a window. I think I can do this. All right. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So we ran across this, me and DJ from Speartip ran across this article not too long ago, I think last week. And what it did was basically point out that threat actors are using these fake kind of applications trying to trick people into loading OAuth apps into their environment, and they resemble a lot of very commonly used products like there's Acrobat, there's DocuSign, and they require very little permission. They're mostly, we believe, and Bleeping Computer believes as well, that it's mostly just for information gathering for more targeted attacks. But they are very easy to load, and the problem is that if you're not blocking these sort of things from being loaded like unpublished apps, they're very easy to confuse with a legitimate one. So we did a couple of things. In Discord, we created a respond rule that would look out for these sort of apps to be created with these permissions. And there's also, this refers to an article or a post on X where they do also list the application IDs. So the respond rule does include that as well. But more importantly, rather than just waiting for this sort of thing to affect your clients, what you could do instead of, or in addition to loading this respond rule, is to pretty much just prevent the activity altogether. Don't let your clients load applications that are unpublished. There's really no reason for them to do this sort of thing. And it's really an easy Fortify control that's just called, I believe it's ensure. I think it's this one right here. Yeah. So it's ensure user consent to apps accessing company data on their behalf is not allowed. What this does is basically requires them to be published or verified publishers from Microsoft. This doesn't get you around the whole like perfect data and EM client, because those are verified publishers. But for the people that are pushing out these random little applications, this will prevent that from happening. There is another step above this. There's three of them. There's like the first one is don't, like let everybody load whatever they want to. And then the second one is this verified publishers. And then the third one is don't let anybody load anything without admin consent. And honestly, I would probably go for the first one if you can get away with it, but at least this one it should be very low impact. You shouldn't notice anybody complaining, and it's just going to prevent that from even happening. So there's two ways to protect yourself. Look for it.
And is there a licensing restriction to be able to put that in place?
That's a great question. I don't think so. Let me see. I don't think we should. Let me see here the licensing. No, it does. It looks like Active Directory free, Azure Basic. So yeah, anybody can do that.
Thank you.
For sure. Good question. It's really easy to find too. If you ever need to reverse it, it's really just under Enterprise Application and Permissions. I believe it's consent. You'll see that there. But it's extremely easy to apply here. Just click that and run with it. I believe there's some customization too. Oh yeah, it looks like we can also do the do not we can do the step above it, which is the customization for do not allow user to consent at all. That one might be a little harder to get around, but yeah. And on a side note, DJ also messaged me yesterday and said, "Oh, fun times." He had ran across one that was not actually in this list. It's a completely different application. It was a Microsoft looking one, same exact permissions and unverified. So the responder that we created is very targeted to those specific apps. That's why I say if you can block it and prevent it, then I would do that.
And Ben, does this come the visual you just showed at the top? Those, permission screenshot, if you scroll up again. Do those come from after clicking on the email?
Yeah, it looks like what this does is, let me see if I can blow this up just a little bit. Basically, it's saying this is a social engineering attack. It's saying, are you human? Oh, well, you are, huh? Well, then do these steps. Do the Control R, Control Windows R, and then Control V, and run this PowerShell command. I don't know who falls for this, but apparently it's enough people. I know it's like, okay, yeah. So another thing you do is just disable PowerShell. But yeah, that's how they prove that you are human is by you running this command.
Ah,
It's terrifying, isn't it?
It's also an intelligence test.
Yeah.
as we say, it's a feature, right?
It's a feature.
But yeah, even and even blaming computer, it's the exact same like things that they're suggesting is go in there, go into consent permissions, and just say app consent to you consent to apps is no. Just don't let them do it at all. And that will help. And if you did that one route where you're blocking all OAuth apps, then that'll also affect that whole perfect data, EM client, exfiltration thing that happens, since they won't be able to load anything until you approve it. So it's kind of a way of zero trusting your enterprise apps.
So Corey, you had one of an MSP fall for it, huh? Or the MSP's customers.
Yeah, their customer fell for it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming. DJ said he's seen it a couple of times too. So
I had to ask him to repeat what he said happened because I didn't believe it. Someone really would follow the steps of hitting Windows R and Control V? Really?
I was gonna say, did you not believe that he'd run PowerShell? Or that's hilarious. I know. I tried to think. I was like, who falls for this? I was like, lots of people, I assume.
Well, Corey, as I'm going to show some of your SonicWall report, as your report shows, actually, a lot of people fall for this type of stuff.
There's always one.
This one, I really didn't believe this one. It's funny you're bringing it up because I just had to deal with this and talk to the partner about, even why are they not even monitoring PowerShell? They completely disabled all monitoring of PowerShell. And yeah, at least our SOC would have seen it when it happened. And no, we didn't see it because they totally disabled PowerShell monitoring. So that was.
Do you guys ever like push out like Sysmon or anything like that to monitor that sort of?
No, I mean, but like I said, the tools that we use are really good at detecting things like this.
Okay.
One, preventing, and two, if it doesn't prevent it, at least the SOC can see it because we have, ATH rules that will respond to something like anomalistic behavior like that.
That's an easy one for your SOC to put in for a detection rule.
Yeah, if the partner disables it,
that it was slowing down their computer. Oh my gosh, that cracks me up. But yeah, so if anybody's interested in the respond role, it is on Discord and but otherwise just disable it. Not PowerShell, disable it.
Yeah, not PowerShell monitoring.
No, right? Cracks me up.
All right, great job, Ben.
Thanks.
All right. Where are we here? Let's go on back. All right, so Ben, in honor of so here's what I got. We had Tracy's fish of the week, but does this look probably like what you were just sharing?
Yeah. View completed document. Okay.
Yeah. So, I saw the DocuSign and, obviously I didn't have a sandbox to launch it. But what I thought they did really well was because it caught my attention immediately. And I don't know if for you guys, like, your emails are kind of the preview will come across. I don't know if you guys have that set, but I saw like, wait, completed because I'm doing DocuSigns here and there. And so it certainly caught my attention. So I thought that was well crafted, that it was completed. And I think that, you're starting to see like, invoice paid and completed versus requesting money. It's a different tactic trying to get to the same end result, but I thought socially engineered, it was a clever way of doing things. Have you seen
Andrew?
Yes, Ann.
Because that's the whole completed thing is good, but I'm noticing at the top it says DocSign
Yes.
instead of DocuSign.
Oh man, that's a typo. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Well,
otherwise they did so well.
I know, right? Well, and then the funny thing is like I'm always tempted to click on these, but it's like all at the same time, once you click on it, it's like it triggers their system to know, hey, this guy is clicking on our emails, and I just need to craft the right one. So it almost verifies your account's active too. So yeah.
But to your point, Ann, it's like that. Those are the good for you for grabbing it and seeing it right away, but most people don't, right? Because it looks like DocuSign, right? So
in tax season too, I mean, I'm doing a lot of DocuSigns at the moment as well. So
well,
it's a good time to really throw these things out there.
yeah, no doubt. All right, so then we talked about Tracy's. And then I had a few other items before we go into your threat report, Corey. I thought it was well done. So I thought this was, did anybody catch this? I'll put this URL in. Obviously there's not a lot of change going on in federal government right now. That was sarcasm for those that may not have caught that. I'm putting the URL. This comes from the Federal News Network op-ed, and it's actually an interesting article. So in I guess this is my joking around, but in Doge-esque, it's like, hey, CISA, get back to work. Like, you've done a lot of stuff on social media. You've, been doing things that really aren't primary to what your mission is. And your mission is very straightforward and simple. And it's outlined that, your job is to protect critical infrastructure. The part I wanted to highlight here is the fact that they call out, if you give me one moment, oh darn, I deleted it. Give me one moment, folks. I just want to show you this in the article because they call out MSPs, which I thought was interesting. Bear with me. So let me share. Chip, I'm going to do my famous share everything.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Okay, so in the article, right in point number, where is it? The marketplace. Where is it? Here we go. Just, again, how we talk sometimes about compliance rolling downhill. the fact that, to be seen, right? Supposedly with anything around, CMMC, the MSP has to match the level, and this has gone back and forth in terms of, the MSP's CMC requirements and what level they need to be at. But this is certainly calling MSPs to the carpet of what they believe the marketplace should look like in terms of dealing with critical. And notice it's about critical infrastructure. It's not just saying CMMC. So these are MSPs that might be dealing with water utilities. These are MSPs that are dealing with banks. These are MSPs that are dealing with, of course, the DIB. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Chip? Do you think this could, potentially, being how kind of, it's black or white thus far with this administration, that maybe we do see some teeth? I mean, again, it's to be seen, right? But it would be interesting to see if, and by the way, we're going to have Scott Edwards from Summit 7 on to talk about this on Monday's Cyber Call. But any thoughts, Chip?
Well, yeah, a couple. So my first thought I was happy to see this. I didn't read this article, but in separate coverage that CISA is being told to refocus on its mission. I don't think there was ever appropriate that CISA was getting involved in social media and disinformation and all the other political bullshit. I would want CISA to be a politically blind institution that its sole mission is looking at the technological aspects of protecting not just our national infrastructure, but making available, as they do, to the services community, to the MSP community and the internal IT community, lots of information about vulnerabilities and attackers and securing, both accounts and devices. In terms of another marketplace, I'm a little skeptical that that's necessary when you have FedRAMP. There's already ways of identifying service providers, application vendors who are approved and have demonstrated their competence for managing federal components, whether that's oil pipelines or whatever it is. So I'm yet to be convinced that yet another agency needs to be stood up to do the same thing in that regard. So we'll see. I don't like overlap in government. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't disagree on the latter part of your statement, but I can't imagine, very many MSPs being FedRAMP qualified. So so there's got to be some kind of vetting, I think, is what they're trying to say for service providers that are touching critical infrastructure. And quite frankly, I bet if we did a quick poll on this call, just yes or no, and said, hey, do you work with banks, water utilities, financial institutions, just put a quick yes or no in. If it's a yes, utilities, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, we know that's a yes in the broader SaaS alerts community. We have everything: banks, hospitals, water, utilities, state and local governments. We really run the gamut,
right?
All the way up to Defense Department contractors. So, we know that SaaS alerts partners are out there that are in these spaces, and we've talked in the past, Andrew, on I think at least twice in our calls, in these calls about the market opportunity for CMMC and FedRAMP certification for MSPs. Like there are not enough people available that are FedRAMP certified that have CMMC credentialed capabilities, especially moving up to L2 or L3 CMMC. And it's worth the effort for an MSP. It's maybe too much for a 10-person MSP, but you get to the point where you're a 20-man shop. And I know we have lots and lots of partners that are in that kind of category. there's a huge revenue opportunity for them to fill that gap.
Yeah. Well, and so just I'll close with this, Chip. You didn't know this, but you did say it. It calls out sharing, right, between public and private. And again, this is the part I just wanted to highlight, because a lot of times I think people default right away to CMMC when we think critical infrastructure. And if you look at the article, it's like, no, they call right out Change Healthcare, because right, it's our healthcare system. So it's going to be an interesting, I think, few years here to see where all the dust settles for managed service providers touching, critical infrastructure. Put it this way, if there's any administration that's actually going to put teeth into us, it's probably going to be this one. So.
Yeah, well, I see that as a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, in the end, all of us at some degree bump up against critical infrastructure, even if it's, the Kevin Bacon principle that it's a few degrees of separation. I don't think there's an MSP out there that, if not directly through their customers and the customers of their customers, have an impact on the overall security of everything in the both public and private sector.
Yeah, very, very true. All right. So hey, Corey, were you involved in this? Because they talked a lot about SonicWall SOC. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I provided them metrics and data and all that fun stuff.
I didn't see a picture of you, B, a quote.
No, they don't want to see that. Then people wouldn't read it. Come on.
It was actually well done. I'll just highlight a few things in our remaining minutes here. Things we've talked about, but again, this is our third week in a row looking as the threat reports start rolling in for 2025. The first part, again, we've probably talked about ad nauseum on this call in terms of, how threat actors are implementing double and now triple extortion, triple being the bribery, right? We're going to release your data. And we did look at the stats that's actually starting to become less effective. Needless to say, it's grown. The part that really stuck out in the report to me was the healthcare data that you guys provided, Corey. That in terms of ransomware and its focus on, in industry that right before COVID was pretty much off limits from threat actors. They were like, hey, this is one area we're going to stay away from. We have some ethics, some morals. Boy, did that change in the last few years, which has become arguably the most targeted. And then within that, I'll open it up to everybody. I just wanted to show you a few things and I'll let comments. The vulnerabilities that were exploited in healthcare are pretty astounding. Things like proxy cell still, Corey, move it still. But when you look at the data and the why, this is not going to be surprising, but it does have I'll close with why it does have implications for us. When we look at, major vulnerability analysis, and how fast, right, threat actors move, it's at warp speed these days in terms of once proof of concept is released. And this is the age old debate about disclosure, right? Is it good or is it bad? Because it's a race against time. And I would argue, Chip, these days, threat actors are far more organized in terms of doing the wrong things with vulnerabilities than us doing the right things with vulnerabilities. And then this kind of just blew my mind, Corey, from your data, is that this is 2024, by the way. Look at the yellow in terms of what was exploited. These are still 2021 CVEs. and move it from what, a year and a half ago. And as the report goes on to talk about with healthcare, and I'll show it, is that the speed in which healthcare moves, right? They change control and change management, if they have it, is very slow to move. And so the punchline here, I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts, is when you look at this, and I've mentioned this before on this call, it's, you know, for your customers, when we talk about non-agent based systems that you're managing, and how broad your MSAs are in terms of we take care of vulnerabilities, if it is not specific and you're not managing internet facing devices on a consistent and continuous basis, I would highly encourage you to start doing so. So Chip, thoughts, and then we can open it up to the floor on this piece of the threat report.
I'll try to be really brief, but man, do I have a lot of thoughts on this. I want to go back to a statement that you made about how the threat actors move faster than you use the term we do. And I think what you mean the we is a combination of us and our customers.
Yep.
And I just had this conversation with my own PCP last week. I had my annual, drop in, look in your nostrils checkup kind of thing. And they were hacked in between last year and this year. And I'd been telling them forever to get away from their internal infrastructure. They had a group of guys in private practice with, a bunch of offices all linked together by WAN, all running servers on-prem. And I kept telling them, like, you got to stop doing this. And they got hacked. They got ransomware. Their cyber insurance vendor, thankfully they had one, because I'd been in his ear for a couple of years about that, paid a handsome 6-digit sum in Bitcoin. The hackers actually got caught. The US government retrieved that Bitcoin. And I thanked him very much for contributing to the Bitcoin reserve with that. But the thing that jumped out at me about what you just said, Andrew, is the reason that there is a disparity is because, and it really came home talking to him, for everybody in business, these exercises are a cost center, right? It's like pulling teeth. You got to get people to spend money. We talk about it all the time on this call. How do we message to our customers the importance of this, and why an ounce of prevention, is better than a pound of cure? In this case, instead of 800 grand in Bitcoin, a couple $1,000s a month in proper security services. But for hackers, it's a revenue source. Like, it's their business. Of course, they're going to be faster to move, especially than things like, it's not just medicine, it's also schools, and there's other stuff that moves at a glacial pace. And I think that we, the MSP community, have to continue pounding our table, with our shoe, like Nikita Khrushchev. You got to do this. You got to transition. You can't be living in, the late teens or the middle 2000s in terms of how you run your infrastructure. Because that's how you get this.
Yeah, well, I want to make one comment, then I'd open it up maybe to like an Ann or another MSP, but that this is why, you mentioned something, you said a cost center. That's why it's not resonating with our customers. And if we're not having, we had Brent Adamson as our keynote, who did, I thought, a phenomenal job at Write a Boom. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Ann, but basically, like, we've got to be in a position to empower them to have the right questions to ask and get away from cost and more of what's the risk to their revenue. If, in other words, forget about my services, right? Let's talk about what drives the business. How long can you be down? What does it mean to your suppliers, your patients? Are the regulatory type requirements that you have? So I'll pause there, but I think we really got to get away from security conversations, because you said the threat actors are motivated by revenue, but so are our clients. So if we're not talking to them about the revenue and that piece of the business, I think we're going to really continue to struggle with sales. And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the business impact analysis is really important. And as Chip was talking about that, the thought that I don't know, the little light bulb that popped into my head was asymmetrical warfare. They're gaining, and we're trying to convince people spend money to protect. And there's actually there's a little town. It's called Littleton, right near us. That they're not on national grid. They have their own electric power and light. And it was just disclosed they had Chinese hackers in their system for 300 days. And
Oh, that's it.
yeah, so which is really freaky. And but yeah, it is asymmetrical warfare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Anne. By the way, Anne, I sent you an email. I don't know if you got it. I'd love to chat with you.
Oh yeah, my inbox is a mess, but I'll find it.
That's okay. Anyone else want to make a comment in our last minute here? But Corey, I do want to say you guys did an outstanding job. I don't know if this was your first year doing it, but I think the fact that now they have you and your team contributing, man, it was really, really well done. I think I put the URL in. I just want to make sure did I throw the URL in for the report?
Yeah, you threw it in the chat. Yeah,
okay,
I appreciate it. I mean, I started a little bit last year, but this year was more heavily involved, and next year will be even more. I mean, it goes back to what I've been preaching in all my webinars over the last couple of years. It's the basics that are killing us. Well, everybody's buying all these cool next-gen tools and skipping over the basics, and that's what gets us every time.
100%. The last thing I'll say at the top of the hour, here's our friend PowerShell and living off the land binary. So that was said earlier, and there's the proof that is the number 3 LOL that is being used for being staying under the radar. That's not the right word I want to use, but that's what it's used.
Windows R Control V. Come on.
Yeah.
All the cool kids are doing it.
That's right. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you all for joining in, and it was great seeing you. We'll see you all next Thursday, and wishing you all a great week. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Chip.
Thanks for the call.